All right, everybody, welcome to Facilitated Conversations with Kim Crayton, where I want to speak to white women directly. So, I'm going to make this screen bigger and I'm going to take that off because I've learned that this graphic takes up space when I'm trying to put in captions for when I'm editing. So, we're going to get rid of that.
Oh,
And yeah, so I want to start with first of all, I've been going since the first. I've been doing one video every other day because it gives me time to look at people's content. If they're responding to respond, if I don't want, just don't feel rushed or whatever. And I really want to have so much of my work is about modeling because there are no real examples of how to do this work. And so I invited, we're going to have 3 sessions of 6 white women who know my style very well, and I want to facilitate a conversation so the audience of white women can see what this work looks like, can see why it's challenging, but it's okay. And yeah, I just want to, we need a model. You need a model. And so this is going to be the model. So this is going to go longer than the things I've been posting this week because it's going to be a real conversation. And so that is why you're here. That's my intention of why you're here. Now, a lot of you are here because, woo, white supremacy is now thoroughly eating on its host. Ah, it is thoroughly eating the parasite of white supremacy is finally eating its host. And these two have known I've been saying that shit for years. Nothing would change until white people were in pain. And unfortunately, people not like what I say when I say this next, white people have to die. People don't like that. But sadly, that's the reality. And that, if you're honest, is why many of you are here today because 2 white people died. And so I'm going to hand it over to my guests to talk about what are some rules of engagement that folks need to adopt to do this work in a psychologically safe manner. So go ahead. First of all, introduce yourselves and then go ahead. Oh, no. First thing is when and how do we meet? That's what the
okay.
first one is. Yes. Okay.
Wonderful. Sure. Yeah. I'm Kristen Sabursky, and we met Kim. It was like the intersection of like 2007 to 2018 ish. And it was and I'll prep for us and how Amy and I know each other too. We were working with a nonprofit organization. You were teaching people how to code, and it was going off the rails. And this is one of those moments when you start to see that things are going off the rails, and then you have people that are trying to put it back on the rails. And then we're realizing, oh, we're a bunch of white, well-intentioned women that are thinking we're on the right tracks. And then, oop, we are not. So in comes Kim Crayton, and we get to introduce each other. And it was a point of my life where I was like, I think this is where I'm going to get some real feedback for once. And so it's from then on, from those years on, it's been really enlightening to just be on this journey of understanding what the good white woman paradigm looks like from how I was raised to interacting with the world today, thanks to your wisdom and your help, Kim. So that's how we met. And Amy, I'll take it over to your side.
Yeah. I was thinking about this specifically and trying to remember. I followed you on Twitter, Kim. I think it was in 2017 is about the timing. Kristen and I actually marched together at the Women's March in St. Paul, Minnesota back in 2017 with a lot of the pink pussy hats. We happened to not be wearing those, but we might as well have been. That was very edgy. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was pregnant when I was doing that march as well with my first babies. Kind of back to some of the motherhood themes here. I was also about a decade into my career and in my first leadership and management roles as well, which is thinking back to 2017 and the things that I have learned with engaging with your work, with being challenged, has impacted my personal life, my professional life. I think it's made me better at my job. It's made me a way better manager, a better leader, and also certainly led to a lot of uncomfortable conversations and painful conversations, which might get us into the segue here of rules of engagement.
Go right ahead.
Right on.
Kristen actually and I did a little bit of prep for this as well and thinking about what were the things that were top of mind for us. And initially, I go back to some of your guiding principles, Kim, that I've learned from you over the years, certainly around prioritize the most vulnerable. Intention without strategy is chaos. With tech is not neutral, but also this idea of the ways that we navigate the world right now. There is no neutrality. That doesn't exist. There isn't something that is apolitical. And those immediately came to mind. And we were talking about this last night, but then we've also individually and together have been wrestling with some different things too. I'm happy to share some of those. Kristen, if you want to jump in or add anything to that, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, having Kim's principles in the back of my head for the past decade was just like one of those constant tenets of, right, here's that pattern again, here's spot the pattern, here's things that are popping up. And when you're raised in this kind of bubble of sorts of good white woman dynamics and white feminism, you start to see these patterns over and over again coming out going, oh, look, there's some racism there. I don't know if that would have been talked about or mentioned to me before. So now that you get into these worlds of thinking of these things all a little bit differently with a different lens, it starts to show you how there's so much rooted and everything's rooted in this baseline of white supremacy and racism. So it's been that lens of not only just establishing rules of engagement, but just understanding how the systems around you are functioning and being able to witness them more often.
Before we move forward, I want to see if you can articulate what spot the pattern means, because you brought that up and we want to make sure we add definition. So what is spot the pattern?
Spot the pattern is based on the old, thinking back to 2018 realm. That was the constant reminder of you're going to see patterns of these white supremacy notions or racism or even just whiteness in different ways. And if you can catch the roots of those and spot those patterns, you're going to see them everywhere. They're going to be in pretty much every realm that you're looking at. Amy was alluding to being pregnant at the Women's March, and I'm thinking about how even the journey of pregnancy, how you have this perception of how it's going to go, and you're like, oh, there's a ton of inequity here all over the place. And it's another space that you think is this kind of protected, I think taking care of you kind of realm, but it's not.
Can I add to this pattern piece here? I think something else that happens when you can do that is it loses its power, or at least it loses some power.
Because it gives you, first of all, you can't be gaslit on it, and it makes the thing real. So in very simple terms, spot the pattern is whiteness can only be cast as hero or victim, never the villain. So when you see yourself or feel yourself wanting to say, not all white women, or my situation is just as it, any of that is you casting yourself as the only thing that white supremacist systems, institutions, and the policies will allow whiteness to be cast as, heroes or victims. You can never be the villain. And that is why it becomes, for people like me who are always the victim, it becomes a exercise in what the fuckness, how you turn yourselves inside out.
Gymnastics.
Yeah, to be the hero or victim. Your hand could be in the cookie jar. I witness you put the cookie in your mouth. You have swallowed it, and yet you didn't do it. You did it for a reason that was either noble,
Forced,
or a reason that you couldn't help yourself. You were the victim of it.
Oh, there's more. There's so much. I kind of want to share a couple of other thoughts that I had around the rules.
Yes.
Quickly. I think it'll help you related to all of this. But I was thinking about the question of like, when and how did we meet? And I was like, man, I don't know that I even had heard the term anti-racist before. And I was at that time like so bought into the assume positive intent. Like I subscribed to that. Like you wouldn't believe. Like I joked all the time that like if there was like Slender Man in the woods, that I would be like, we're gonna be friends. It'll be fine.
Okay, this reminds me of some of my conversations with Kristen and white women in horror movies.
Horror movies. What the noise in the basement? I'll check it out.
But the thing with that is, once you recognize that you've been conditioned to trust things that you should not trust.
Yes.
And that is why you put yourself in situations that you shouldn't be in. And that is why you get mad at Black and brown women who don't do that, because we know that there's something on I don't need to know what the fuck is on the other side of that thing. I don't need to know. But you've been told, conditioned, indoctrinated that you're safe. When if we're looking at all this Epstein shit, you were never fucking safe. You've been groomed since childhood to be a victim and to make excuses for your victim.
Yeah. Oh, there's always
to say patterns.
Yeah. It's I've tried to people I think folks like assume positive intent. Part of the reason why we like that is because there's a simplicity to it. It rolls off the tongue to be able to say that. And all of the layers that come with that too. And so I've
But I
tried
want to stop you
yeah,
before
yeah.
you move on because positive intent is also only given to white people. It's the
Oh,
same
there's
thing. It's the
oh,
same thing
Yeah,
as
it's the
civility.
yes.
Civility is optional for white people, but it's the expected behaviors of anybody. That's why people
Yeah.
demand that we are civil. That's why people tone police us because we're expected to be civil. I don't get the benefit of the doubt, but you by default get the benefit of the doubt due only to whiteness. And see, this is what we need to stop with the, oh, it's the gender. No, gender is
Mhm.
not the first thing. It is race. It's always fucking race.
Yeah.
and I
So I
can
just wanted
piggyback
to,
that a little bit. Just because I worked at a place where that was a company value. And I remember at the time I was like, all right. So my frustration around assume positive intent it intensified at that place. And this was also a place, to your point, Kim, about the whole gender focus. This is also a place where I was like, what do you mean we lack diversity here? We're over 50% women here. And I'm like, so that was also another
and
veil
that
back.
explains
So
why so many white women were in DEI positions.
that's right. How these
And why white women benefited from affirmative action more than black women.
more than, yep. That's a
Because
benefactor.
because for white people, gender is diversity.
Yep.
That's right.
I think it's when I first became familiar with your work, Kim, the short phrase that I started replacing in my brain was impact is greater than intent. And
Yes.
there was another Black woman I was following on social media at the same time who was really trying to like simplify this. This actually isn't nuanced. This isn't that complicated. Impact is greater than intent. And when we assume positive intent, it allows my intentions to always be centered. It allows my intentions to be the priority when the harm that I've caused is suddenly not the thing that's important, especially for those who are really starting to engage in this kind of work for the first time. This is super uncomfortable. It is really uncomfortable, but I'd encourage don't soften this part. Make it about the impact that is the thing that's actually important here. You may not have meant to cause some harm, but you did. And we need to start there with that.
And this is why empathy is a trap. And this is why I do not believe in empathy. Because empathy works in theory. I will never know what it's like to be a white woman, and a white woman will never know what it's like to be me. So now I'm wasting my time trying to put myself in your shoes, which I don't need to. We don't need to do that. I don't need you to feel what I'm feeling for you to stop fucking harming me. I need that to stop. It's positive intent and the assumption of what was the other? It's in tech, it was the two things. The assumption of positive intent and benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Those two things were
Yep.
so problematic. And I'm not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, particularly when I've seen documented behavior of you doing shitty stuff. I'm not gonna do that. And that is the root of the whole why talk about compassion, and I can sympathize and I can extend grace, but I am not looking for empathy. I will not extend empathy. And when people, particularly white people, use it, it becomes really disgusting. It's really gross because
This
now
stuff is like with ally now too.
yes,
Like I know, I
exactly. That's
empathize.
why I don't do allies. I do co-conspirators. I don't
Yeah.
need you to be able to opt out. If I throw the damn brick, you need to be ready to go to jail because you have the most privilege
Die
and you know
together.
how they're going to treat you versus treat me. If you can't do that, I don't need you.
Extra weight.
All right, and keep going, Amy. I just want to make sure we're stacking these.
Yeah, I got two more here. This is helpful. One of the other really uncomfortable things, and it goes with assume positive intent a little bit here, but I've wrestled with a long time is this idea that I don't get to decide what safety looks like for anybody but myself. This is something, psychological safety is also a thing we love in the tech industry to talk about, especially as managers and leaders of teams. We love to talk about creating psychological safety, and we think that a declaration of it is what makes those spaces safe. This is something where in the nonprofit that we had all met each other through, I thought, surely I'm creating safe spaces as a white woman, right? Like I did create these safe spaces. And one of the most uncomfortable realizations, I think, that I definitely didn't come to on my own, this was shared with me, was no, I didn't show up because you created a safe space. I showed up despite the fact that it wasn't safe for me.
And that is, let's talk about why we all met on Twitter, because that was never a safe space for us. But we were able to create community and keep ourselves relevant. And that is what brown and black people have to do all the time. No spaces that are rooted in whiteness are safe for us ever, ever. And this is why white people cannot separate themselves from racism. There is no non-racist white person. we're not even having that conversation.
Yeah, we're past that. Yeah.
We're not even having that conversation. You are racist. All I need to know, are you on the spectrum of full-on white supremacy, or are you willing to develop a consistent, demonstrated anti-racist practice? Because you still will class fucking hard, period.
Yep.
Because
The best
again,
intentions. Yeah.
it's that, there are pieces of my lived experience that you just don't know, which is why you cannot empathize, that are problematic. And you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with, I'm gonna fuck up
Yes.
and I'm still gonna
Yep.
show up.
And if I could piggyback that a smidge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like we're both gonna round on this one too, of how when you're raised in a realm that is just, you're propped on a platform, you're told you're an amazing white little girl, white woman, you're put on this track of white feminism and all the other glorious pieces of it that we tell ourselves and all these stories. You realize as you get older, and this is me talking about like high school and college, you're like, am I getting the right feedback? Am I getting told the reality about what's really going on in the world? Or am I just in a kind of small bubble in white spaces and just shuddered from hearing what the real reality is? And that's a big tenet of why I've so enjoyed interacting with you and talking with you, Kim, and having the constant feedback of just, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Amy and I bond on this. We talk about how some people really need that clear cut, no bullshit, straight to the chest, bam, feedback. And a lot of our world, my world especially, was so padded and coddled. And
Because that's the difference between nice and kind.
that's right. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful one. That's, if everyone could adopt that understanding as well, on top of all this, of there's nice and then there's kind, because kindness is honest. It's going to give you it's going to tell you there's shit in your teeth, which is something that I've felt like we met in 2018. I was like, how much shit's in my teeth? Oh my God. It just felt like this whole rush of, you've had that crap in your teeth for 40 years. Okay. That's okay. Where do I start? So I'm hoping that more people, especially white women that might listen to this, if you feel like you've lost time, because that's what I did. I feel like I lost time. Like all this time that I thought was on this track, that I thought I was getting the feedback on, that I was course correcting, that I was doing the good stuff, right? Like these civil binaries. The more that you realize you're not getting the feedback because you're not either trusted or you're not safe, all these other elements that you're not doing the work to show that you're worthy of
Stop you
getting
there,
that.
because it's not even that you're not trusted or not safe. You're not even valued. You're not even seen as somebody who
Fair.
deserves that. Because if you knew the
The
truth,
labor of it,
if you knew the truth, you would push back on it, because you
the
are,
defensiveness. And all that.
yes,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
no,
sorry. I
no,
won't.
yep, exactly. You would push back on the fact that you were caught in white supremacy. That's what you would push back on.
So there's back to that tentacle that we were talking
Exactly.
about, Amy. We were saying how, are we here in this moment for people that are tuning in and are activated right now? Why are they tuning in? What is that nugget? Is it seeing Liam? Is it seeing Renee? Is it Alex Preddy? Which person was that sleeper cell trigger for the person there on the other end of this audience? And Amy and I were talking about, is this element of the word fascism, or is it the word white supremacy? Because we were saying how a lot of people are probably very comfortable with fascism and saying, oh, that's fascist, because it takes the white out of it a little bit.
From how we're less
Versus-
complicit in fascism, but the reality
Because fascism means that you also are being
Other.
acted upon. What white people
Yes.
don't realize is that white supremacy, you're also being acted upon. I
that
don't make a
there's-
distinction between the two, because they're words.
the question I asked Kristen
Yes.
yesterday
Yeah.
was how do these things and like bring
Fascism is the action of white supremacy.
that was
There
the
you go.
point that I was trying to get at of that all. That's the theory here, and
If there were no white supremacists, there would be no fascism.
that's what we were talking about. Yeah, sorry.
And this is why I don't give a fuck when people talk about, oh, capitalism is the problem. No, the fuck, capitalism is not the problem. White
one of the
supremacy
first.
is the problem. Our capitalist system is rooted in white supremacy.
Yes, but that's
But also, before you say this, I want to say something to what Kirsten said, because you were saying about the white woman who gets all the positive. Let's not leave out the white women who don't. The white women who've been abused their whole lives and been told that they're shit and they're nothing. It's also the same system because I want to be able, I want because it'd be some white woman said I was always that whole thing. So I want to make sure that it's not just the white women who were cherished, and because like in your family, you're the only girl of 4 boys, so and you're the youngest, so you were cherished. And I want to make sure that women who understand that they've had a much harder road, this still applies to you because I don't want white women to try to opt out because that's what white supremacy would do. Again, hero victim, never the villain.
That's a really good gate to include, and that's something I wanted to juxtapose as a counter to my own lived experience. Because yes, I did have that kind of coddled, like, great, awesome, accolades, woo, no hard feedback for you. I craved more of that authentic information from the world because it was just so curated. But at the same time, I had plenty of buddies, white pals, who have not had that same experience. They're on the other end of the spectrum. And yet in their families, there's an element of pride of we're not going to use these systems because we're white people. There's still that flip side of even with money and different leverages of, or different levels of privilege, that there's still that tenet of racism and white supremacy in it.
And what's funny is that is such a fallacy because with this administration, we've realized who are the wear queens? It ain't black people. It ain't brown people. White people, y'all are living off the system. Man, y'all taking up some socialism that y'all don't believe in.
That's right.
So it again is that cognitive dissonance to take federal funds every month so you can eat and have housing, but want to, and healthcare, but want to deny it to other people.
That's right. And those layers of all that thinking.
All right, Amy, did you have another one? You said you.
Yeah, but we're already at it.
Just keep going.
Circle it back, circle it back.
It's an inevitability that we're going to fuck up again. We're going to make mistakes with this. And this is work that I think I've had at least some intention of being engaged with for many years now. And it is still an expectation that I'm going to get it wrong, that I'm going to cause harm despite intentions. And frankly, sometimes I have intentions that I think are really great, but turns out those intentions have layers as well, because being part of a white supremacist system makes it hard sometimes to distinguish what those things look like. Even when you go think those intentions are good, they may not be. Especially, I think about that a lot in terms of motherhood when it comes to my babies and protecting my white babies. And that feels good, right? That's a good mom. That's what that intention looks like. And there's a piece there that is particularly uncomfortable, but just get comfortable making mistakes. I think it's okay, especially when you're given the gift of feedback, to hear that you've caused harm, that you've fucked up in some way, to be willing to give yourself some space. Go, if you need to go feel your feels, go reflect on that, go spend some time there, but to wrestle with that enough that you can actually reflect on it so that you can see where that harm was caused, how that was different than your intentions. Where did that misalignment happen? Where did that come from? And then be able to apologize and own it and then change your behavior. Work to change your behavior so you don't have to do that again. But I don't like making mistakes. I generally don't like to do things I'm bad at. Ultimate Frisbee is one of the few things that I will do that I am like, I just don't get better at, but I still do it for some reason. And I'm one of those who like tends to
I'm going to
avoid.
stop you there. I'm going to stop you there. Because what you're saying, I want to stop you because what you're saying is about socialization. That is not who you are. You are afraid of making mistakes and not being perfect because that's how women are socialized, particularly white women. So don't own that.
Ooh, okay.
Don't own that. You're acting as if you're unique. No, you're a part of a system that, because think about the white dudes in your life. They don't have to do that. They don't have to be perfect. They could be mediocre and still do what. So you see how you just took that on? You've been, and that tells me that's how you've always, oh, I need to be, nope. It's because you've been socialized to be that way.
Yeah. And there's an avoidance of engaging with things that.
Exactly. And that's why you need practice doing it. Because, and so I also want to draw to one of the things that white women fuck up the most is not managing their feelings. Your feelings are no longer our responsibility. Feel what you feel. You absolutely have the right to feel what you feel. But what often happens, particularly in situations, let's say at work, as soon as a white woman starts getting all and crying, we're no longer talking about what the fuck happened. We're talking about her feelings.
Yeah.
Yep. the weaponization of it as well. Like just knowing how many white women know that they can pull that card.
Oh yeah, when
You
you're
pull that card.
driving and you get pulled
Yep.
over, you
Yep.
don't get tickets. That shit don't work for me.
Yep.
And the way that spectators will swoop in to protect you and support
Because
you.
that is what the systems, institutions, that is your role.
Yep.
I'm not valued in the systems, institutions, and policies. That's why no one comes to my aid. So you need to, it makes you, it skews your mind. So you start thinking you're valuable, you're special. No, it is to keep you from attacking or questioning or challenging the systems.
Stay in your line. Stay in your line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So before
Play
we
your
get
part.
to the thing, one of the things I want Kristen to talk about is apologizing and making amends.
Yeah. Apologize, making amends. Yeah.
Let's talk about what that looks like, just because people need an example. What does that look like?
Yeah. I think
Where we start, because we always see things that people say are apologies, but not really apologies.
Yeah, there's such a slew. I think, not to get timely on it, but Cuomo is still on my mind. Like just that Chris Cuomo stuff.
No, that's good because I did post that, so that's a part of this.
I get all back. Yeah, there's these elements of, if you want an example of really bad ones and people that are doing the victim or hero mode and never the villain, it's back to that spot, the pattern tenet. Me personally too, this is also a lot of personality. This is, how do you respond in the moment when you're wrong and when you're called out as wrong, and how do you react? Me personally, I try my advocacy with fellow white women is trying to get folks to have a good rebound rate. And that was a bit of what Amy was getting at too. Of, you're going to mess up a lot. So if you're going to mess up a lot, what can you do to bounce back faster, or at least have your
It's
moment?
like a math equation. If
Yeah.
you know that you're going to get this math
Probability
equation
is
wrong,
high.
yeah, so
Yeah.
then you create a strategy so that it
That's
becomes,
right.
again, you take it out of the personal and recognize it's a part
That's
of the
right.
system. Now, how do you strategize for?
And so when you recognize this world is opening up to your eyes, so you still have a lot to learn. There's a steep learning curve you're up against. You're going to mess up as you go on this learning curve. You're going to cause harm along the way on this learning curve. And therefore, you got to get back in the saddle and not make it about you and stop doing the work. So when you're having those moments of you messed up, you fucked up, you said the wrong thing, it landed wrong, just being able to quickly go, oh, pause. Don't keep digging and doing the defensive statements, the generally I statements, own it. I said this. And it's not even the I'm sorry if. I try to keep as many if statements out of apologies as possible. Yeah, because that also invalidates. So people are like, I'm sorry if it hurt your feelings. It's
Oh
like, no,
God, you just want to
Or
snap
not
with
if.
that one.
Or if I meant to say this, or this was my intention,
Mhm.
or so it must be on you for how you interpreted that in some way.
That's right. Those if statements are killer in an apology. So just having that emphasis back on impact over intention, you might not even understand at the moment. You might need that moment to step back and to sit and go, how did this turn into that? And that's also part of your own work to dismantle and figure out how you missed it. So a lot of it is just making sure you just stop it, get out of here. And then when you return, you understand, or not even understand. I don't want to give like that much credit to it, but it's more so you can speak to where you think it went and why, and then how you're going to course correct it. Because that's, whether it's a friendly brush up or it's complete invalidation of some lived experience, you need to bring that context back in, and how you can show that you see it a little better going forward. And then the important part, apologies aside, there's still a reality. That person might not want to interact with you. That's it. That's that. You have broken that trust, or that center of that
Psychological
bridge for
safety.
the psychological safety that you set up, right? And you got to get over that. You have to stop lingering on that rickety bridge that you think you built like a wonderful thing out of. And it just takes a lot of time. And it's not, no one owes you the friendship or the trust that you think you deserve when it comes to systemic racism and white supremacy.
All right. The mothers of this generation okay, first of all, I'm going to take this part. This was a part of a post that I saw. I can't even remember what it was, either on, I think it was on Threads. And it was a young white woman who was sharing her thoughts. And I left out her handle because I wanted to be anonymous. It's not about shaming anybody, but I knew we need to have this conversation. And this is the conversation that blew the fuck up on Threads, and I have no idea. So that's why I need to talk to these white women here, these white mothers, So we can figure out what triggered for y'all. The mothers of this generation spent the last decade mothering under a Trump pandemic Trump sandwich. It fundamentally altered our experience. We have been robbed of soft motherhood journey. There is grief in acknowledging the mother we would have been in a safer society. There is no tenderness for us, only relentless triage. And yet we keep caring for the children with steady stamina and abundant love. It's really impressive. Be kind to the moms, please. We've been holding it all together. So I don't want to share my take on it, but the question is, how does white women's expectation of soft motherhood highlight that all whiteness is racist by default and cannot be trusted without a consistent, demonstrated practice built on the internalization of this truth?
Who wants to go first?
And go for it.
Yeah. So this one, when it came up and I saw like the reaction around it, I was just like, whoa, this one splinters. A lot of rabbit holes, a lot of different directions came into my mind. But it just revealed once again that same whimsical story of what white motherhood looks like and how it's supposed to be this lovely journey and like cushy everything and glowing and all these things that we were sold and promised when we go down these paths that don't always happen. So it kicks off with this notion of not only did you not realize that's not true for everyone, first of all, but also it took the Trump and pandemic to realize that it's not real for everyone. And also, pregnancy and motherhood isn't soft. I think there's so many tenets of this that are like, we were conditioning ourselves to this story anyway. What? And so having gone through motherhood myself and just realizing all these different layers to it, it's really hard for me to read something like that and not just see all those made up stories of what white people tell themselves to be in these positions and having more children. That was just more so me as acknowledging all the rabbit holes of thought, because softness around pregnancy wasn't my own personal take when I was heading down this path. So even then I was like, who told you what? Yeah. Did you not talk to someone about what goes into this? Because I surround myself with brutally honest mothers that I'm like, tell me the worst. I only want to know the worst stories.
Great hearing.
Yeah, 4-degree tearing. Tell me how miserably sick you were the whole time. I never wanted to embrace that stuff anyway. But then when you see all these white women that do embrace that, they do expect that layer of white supremacy, just luring it in as, yes, it'll be wonderful, keep going this path. That's where that structure of conditioning really shows its teeth on top. So I think a lot of women in the moment were like, oh, we're not getting this as a promise. It's no, but okay, let's talk about it.
It was what was interesting to me was that I did highlight the whole post was that is only an expectation of white women, period.
Yeah, that's why I'm only talking white women
It's just
here.
like it is only that only white women have that expectation. Even giving what you may think childbirth looks like, what you
Right.
may think, nothing about the reality.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of what I've been thinking about, particularly with again, Jeffrey Epstein, and I've been following very closely what's happening in the UK and how it's a yes and when it comes to Sarah Ferguson, because people want to demonize her. And yes, her behavior was abhorrent. And yet, she is a woman with no agency in a system that once you're discarded, we've been all taught, even Black girls are socialized to want prince and prince. That's what fucking prom is, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing following that story that I would ever want to be in a system like that. That is beyond a cage. Just the thought of the lack of liberty, the lack of the agency. And this is a woman who, yes, got millions of dollars in her settlement 30 years ago and is expected to look, she can't be a royal ex-wife and not look good and not live in it. So who's going to pay? This is a whole thing. So it's just like this fairy tale that we've been sold. I never believed, they gaslight us and believe we can have it, but we never saw ourselves in it. I was the first generation we had black dolls.
Yeah.
You had black girls with white dolls most of my childhood. I'm sure it's a mind fuck for you to realize that this whole dream.
Not
Because what's coming to
sophistical.
mind is I saw this video and I can't remember what, I think it was France, and I can't remember what king it was, but he got off on getting his wives pregnant and jacking off in the corner while they give birth. And that is why women don't give birth on the table now and not naturally in a squatting position.
Awesome. The things that you realize about all of pregnancy that's rooted in like weird white instances,
Exactly.
like the snow.
Exactly.
It's like, that's it.
Exactly. He used to get off on, he used to get his wife. His whole thing was getting her pregnant so he could,
I was like
he
the
was,
whole thing.
yeah. And so to lay down, he got to see it. So that's why they
Mhm.
went from women squatting to women laying on the table, which is the most unnatural thing for you to be doing in the moment.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So that's why I know Amy, it's better I went first because I feel like my pregnancy and early motherhood was pretty textbook. Amy was, when this prompt was in the thick of the pandemic too. So this is where I think your story on top of it really adds teeth. So poking at this post.
Yeah, I think the expectation of soft motherhood that's unique to white women, to white mothers in particular. I think part of it is this comfort that like it's gonna be okay. Like however it goes, like it's gonna be okay. And that we've had that. Like in thinking about like, trauma exists in birth for sure. And being a white woman doesn't mean you aren't going to experience hard things or that you couldn't experience oppression. Certainly working in a male dominated industry. Yeah, I could certainly talk about times that I've experienced misogyny in the workplace. Absolutely. But I'm also in a position where I get to be an oppressor too. And I think that's something for the white women who are listening, for the white mothers who are listening and thinking about their own motherhood experience, and they're like, this was nothing but soft. That's valid. That's okay. And
But let's define soft. See, that's another thing. How
Yeah,
do we define
what I mean by
soft?
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about some of my experience. So my oldest child has a chronic illness. Their first hospitalization was at 3 months old. And for years, we had multiple hospitalizations over the years. Their chronic illness made them particularly vulnerable during the pandemic. And that was a really, as you can imagine, a really difficult time for my family. I experienced what I felt like a medical professional gaslighting me for the first time as it came to my child. I experienced what it looked like for a community to not show up for my kid, for a community to decide that their life was less important if somebody couldn't go to the grocery store or go to school or whatever that looked like. So if I'm really honest and really honest with myself, even though I had been doing this, I think I had been doing this work for some time. I think going through that experience and seeing what it looked like for a community to decide my child's life was less important. That was the first time I really got to experience that as a white mom. And it took until that moment for me to be able to wrap my head around the fact that this is all the time. Welcome. You see it for the first time. And I think as folks are engaging with this right now, maybe for the first time, don't let it be about your kid before you reach this point.
And that goes back to the whole, I don't need you to understand. I don't need you to make me show my wound for you to believe that there's a wound there. It's bleeding.
Yeah.
And that is the insidious part of white supremacy. It always requires the people it oppresses to have documentation, to have reasons, to justification, just to have the bare minimum of humanity experience. Yeah, that experience. And this is why, unfortunately, white people have to die for you to get it. Because there's that.
Yep.
If you think of the myth of white supremacy as a cancer cell, not only is it a cancer cell, but there's mutations in the cancer cell. And so that inability to have, you can't, let me be honest, you don't have the capacity to empathize.
No, of course. Yeah.
And that is the truth that people don't want. You don't have the capacity to even do the thing that you want to do. So I'm not even waiting. I don't need you to figure that out.
Wait for that.
That
to
may
come out.
take years.
I would want every person listening too to ask herself, like, how often when you think about anything in your world, is the element of racism in your mind at all. And when you realize that you were raised in a world and society where you thinking about race is an option, then yeah, you're never going to deliberately go that path. You're usually just going to go path of least resistance and go, I don't get all this
That's a good
racist
point.
talk. It's like, but it's
That's a
optional
good
for
point.
you.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. That is a good point.
It's just,
It's
like you
it's
have to catch up
something,
with all those moments.
and this is why when Black people are together, we're so relaxed because we don't have to think about it. Those are the one
Right.
times we don't have to think about it.
That's right. You are in a space where everyone understands. You're at that same level bar where you don't have to deal with someone who's maybe thinking about it.
And this is
Yeah.
why I get so mad when Black people bring white people to Black functions without letting people know ahead of time
Heads
because
up.
everybody's behavior changes.
Well, that's back to the whole, am I getting the feedback that I'm looking for?
Yes.
Right? Because I know for a fact with my roots and where I was raised in like a 90% white conservative red world, if there were any Black and brown people around, they were not teeing off on their top thought in their head for sure. There was absolutely that.
And that is why I'm
totally outnumbered.
And that is why I am such a trigger for so many people because I intentionally say
You're like,
this
"No."
thing that other people will not tell you.
But that's where Amy and I bond on this though, because she ever talked about this too. Like some people, especially white women like us, like we're the hit it hard. Like it doesn't actually, for me personally, just speaking for myself, I need those hefty hits. I'm a high energy person. I'm deeply extroverted. I'm going 50,000 miles a minute. And if I have someone that goes toe to toe, knock it off and then gets me off my track, that's the kind of feedback, unfortunately, I need. And
But
that's
I'm gonna
because
stop you. It's not unfortunate because you're not it. That's just how your brain thinks. I do that with every white person.
yeah, that's fair. That's wasn't
Because-
it's not even like
because-
your style.
No, you
or
just
what-
enjoy it more than they do.
sorry. Yeah, it wasn't even a testament of like your style.
No,
of,
but I
what
want to
do white
stop you
people
there.
need.
I want to stop you there
Yeah.
because people think it's something that you're special. No,
No,
Kristen
no.
just likes truth.
That's just me.
She's like me. I don't do kind. I don't do nice. I do kind. Give me straight. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't take me to
time.
Texas when I'm trying to go. Don't do that.
Yes.
I'm trying to
No
go
need
from
to-
Atlanta to New York. Why the fuck are we in Texas?
Yeah.
So I
Take the
don't.
mittens off. Let's go.
Exactly.
Gloves off. Let's go.
I'm pulling this out because other white women will hear this and expect other people to be nice to them. And nice does not do this work.
No,
I don't want people to think that, oh, Kristen got it because something special about her. No, Kristen has it because that's
No.
just how her brain works. And that's how and her and Amy have learned the truth. It's rip the Band-Aid off. Just tell me. And
Yes,
the
and I
people- and the
definitely
people-
want to be very clear. It's not even
Yes.
about the input. It's more of just how do you absorb information. You need to know that about yourself. How do you take stuff in? Because I even went.
But
for
okay,
this
but I'm
session-
challenging you there because
Oh, my sorry.
do people even know that's how they take stuff in, or is it because they've been conditioned not to take stuff in that way?
Oh, sure. Okay, but
See, that's what
I'm saying to bring the onus back to
You know, I'm
talking listening.
fucking bigger. Because I don't.
Okay,
So
that's
what I'm trying to do is not give white women an out. And right now,
No, I'm
you're
not
trying
trying
to
to do
give
that
white
either.
women an out, and I don't want them to
Okay.
have an out.
Okay,
Because
I was more so saying do the extra work to understand that you are looking for mittens. You're looking
Yes.
for softness. And here's an example to bring home when I was trying to get
Yes.
across. I watched an instance online and it still like resonates in my head. It just gets to me. There was a woman that didn't want to talk to the living source of whether it's Black experiences or Black women. This woman was trying so hard to go on this journey of unlearning in the softest way possible. Back to that soft terminology. And she even put out online saying how, well, you were all mean to me. So I went and did ChatGPT and I asked, how do I have these conversations better? And I learned a lot there. And meanwhile, I'm like, no. So I had to trail this and be like, what the hell would AI give this person? What are they going to learn from that? And what layer are we to leave off with this person learning that way? And it's back to getting white women to be like, get off. You have to understand that you need to get better at receiving feedback and being a spot that you can get that feedback in the first place and hiding from the source of it all. This is where we continue to seek the mittens in the comfort zones and centering ourselves from our own defensiveness versus learn how you screwed up. Get there.
And the fact that you prefer a machine.
A
over
bot.
human- Yeah. And that is,
Yep.
and that's why I'm honing in on this because it is not, Kristen is not unique. Kristen just likes, she is a person who likes straight no chaser. That's just me as well. But there are people in our lives who prefer, and I meet people where they are. If you
You're
need a
going
little,
fast where they are.
yeah, if you're, depending on how you're engaging, I'm gonna meet you where you are. Kristen, I know, you ripped the Band-Aid off. Some other people I know, I'm ripping the Band-Aid off, and yet there may be, Kristen needs 1 step. Some people need 5. But if I'm gonna put the 5 steps in, you got to be with me the whole time. Not me doing the 5 steps and you still back here whining. We're not doing that.
Dragging person through the
Hey,
steps. No.
we're not here to convince a
As a
So,
labor.
so that's what I wanted to be, because I don't want, because white women will say, but Kristen's, no, she's not different. She's not different. Because sometimes
Nice.
some things I have to take, even Kristen. Okay, here are the 5 steps, Kristen, because you're not getting it. You're not getting it. Back up.
Right.
Back up. Not getting it.
Yeah. I do want to echo that point you just said too about the convert, convince or convert. I think that's another really big one for the engagement roles.
Oh yeah, I
So
don't
many people
debate. We
don't-
don't.
Yeah.
I'm never debating my lived experience and my expertise with anybody.
That's right. And I think that's another area where when white women start this journey in their, especially when they try to practice with their own friends or family, it's back to them. You gotta snip out that moment. Are you trying to convert people, or are you trying to just have an exchange of lived experiences here?
Particularly with so many of you having evangelical backgrounds and that doggone
Rooted.
mission shit, that stuff. That's what this is not. This is not this.
Yeah. Not evangelizing anti-racism.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, go ahead, Aunt Amy. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Kim, you asked earlier, like, what does softness mean here? And we just came back to it too. And we went a little bit off, but like softness comes back more and more. And I think that there is a level of comfort, but I think as moms, so I didn't share this part, but I live in Minnesota. I live in the Twin Cities. I'm in a suburb, but I'm pretty equidistant between Minneapolis and St. Paul. And the last month has had a very big impact on my community, on my children's schools and their school community, along with the broader community here as well. And I'm thinking about like what I would have expected soft to look like for some pieces of motherhood here. And I shared this with Kristen yesterday. I have a mom friend, another white mom, who said something, this was a couple of years ago, not related to this, but said something about wanting her children to believe that the world is beautiful for as long as they can. And it like caught me off guard a little bit, because in my household, with the way that my partner and I are choosing to raise our children, we have pretty explicitly decided to not approach parenthood with censorship, and also to recognize that, to be clear, I do not know about early childhood development. I am winging it. This is
all trying to
some work I try to learn, but I don't know what I'm doing. And there are folks who do know what they're doing when it comes to like professional early childhood development and whatnot. But we've chosen to approach without a lot of censorship, but with the
Before you move on, define what you mean by censorship. I want to make sure I understand you.
The things that I think it's about this idea that there aren't topics that are inappropriate for our children. So sometimes it might be like, we'll use the correct body parts. We will use the correct terms for a body part. Maybe it's about that. Or maybe it's also, again, my oldest was 2.5 years old in 2020. And when George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, I had a 2.5-year-old at the time, a 3-year-old at the time, or almost 3. And this meant, look, we're already behind. We need some books about anti-racism on our bookshelf for our child. And so it was about engaging with some of these topics, even with a really young child, and being prepared as the grownups in our kids' lives to do the work to make sure that we can do that in a way that is also appropriate for those children. And by that, are you going to just send them off into a room and be like, go think about these really big, heavy, complex things and be on your own? Good luck, 3-year-old, or in my case now, 8-year-old, like Godspeed. I hope that works out for you. We still have a responsibility to our children, but so I've been wrestling with this idea of wanting my children to be able to think that the world is beautiful for as long as they can. I feel, of course I want that as a parent. Of course I want that as a mother. And I have this responsibility to show them the world. And I have white children, and they have to know what is happening in the world. And how do we do that in a way that's age appropriate and focuses on childhood development and all of these pieces, but I think the softness piece for me here is that you get to raise your children where they get to believe that the world is beautiful for their childhood. I think there's an element of that softness and that there's almost an entitlement to it. That's where I agree.
It's interesting because it's so funny because what you mentioned is it's whiteness. Because why is the truth not soft? Why is the truth not
Yeah,
beautiful?
there it is. Yeah.
Why is the truth not beautiful? Why
Why are we
can't you
veiling
teach it-
here?
Exactly. Why can't you teach your children about George Floyd and talk about his humanity? Why can't you talk about he had a daughter that was the same age as you? And why does truth have to be this thing that is bastardized? Because it would force you, not even force you, it would lead you, oh, this white supremacy, mental white supremacy thing is what's the harm. It's not the truth. The reality is not the lack of beauty. It's the mental white supremacy that is the lack of beauty.
Yeah.
Goes full circle.
That's what it is. It is. And so I'm going to say something here that I told Kristen and I told you I was working on something and you just hit it. You just confirmed for me. I am working on the thing I'm going to start working on the thing you're asking for. Parenting beyond the supremacy myth. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And these are things that, as we raise, especially the next generation of white kids, it's imperative that we stop putting the gloves and the mittens on generation after generation and the veil over and over again. It's, as we're talking, it's if a child can experience racism as an infant, then all other kids can learn about and start to educate on why that's happening. It
And
shouldn't
then
be
you
left
can
to one
become
kid.
a real ally.
Yeah. And we'll still probably take a good 5-year moratorium on that word for a minute.
Almost definitely.
I recommend we don't use that one.
I probably will never use it in the rest of my lifetime,
And
but
That's why I was
that
like,
is
don't
the word.
trust people,
That's
but-
what I learned this past year working directly with white men. It is, oh, I see. Y'all don't even have these fucking skills we've been asking. Well, no, I get it. That's so bad. We've been blaming you for shit that you don't even know how to fucking do.
And yeah, the weaponized versus, like we always talk about, like the versions of ignorance, right? Like everyone has to
The
understand that
willful
there's
and
the
strategic.
willful. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so willful ignorance is coming across information that challenges your worldview and choosing to ignore it. Strategic ignorance is ensuring that you never come across information that challenges your worldview. That's what MAGA is. That's what Fox is. That's what this administration is. And that's why they're having a hard problem because they can't contain it now. It's so far out that the lies just don't work anymore because people can see. Once you step outside I tell people, once you cannot unknow, I need to come with a warning because once I tell you something, you now have a choice. You change your behavior or you're making a conscious choice to be complicit in harm. These are the few binaries. Kristen and I know we talk about binaries. This is one of the few binaries that I stand by. Once you know, you either decide that you're going to change behavior or you're going to be complicit. And once you're complicit, you cannot be hero or victim. And that's the problem. You're complicit and you keep trying to shoehorn yourself into hero or victim. And you can't be because you're a villain. You are the villain.
I love this idea of having access to more tools and strategies as parents too. There's so much of that content that exists out there for parenthood, right? Like I could tell you the number of different sleep training mechanisms that are out there and they're
bassinets.
Like
these are the
so much, right?
This is the reason why gentle parenting isn't working. Because most of the parents who are doing gentle parent are doing it in direct reflection or opposition to how they were raised.
It's a pendulum swing. Yeah.
So they have not healed their trauma to be able to even gentle parent. If you're not even talking about childhood development, at your job as a manager, Amy, you cannot create psychological safety for the people you manage if they don't know the boundaries of their jobs and their expectations.
For sure.
Yep. Because they're forever, what am I going to be evaluated on? It's children. They need, I don't know why white folks believe that kids don't need boundaries. Boundaries doesn't mean I'm going to beat you. It is, you are a certain age, you're 3, you have no capacity to make these decisions. And so I'm going to tell you, you have no capacity to make this decision. Now, there may be a small part of that decision I will allow you to make, but you don't get to make the whole decision.
That's right.
And that
Boxes.
is,
Make them comfortable.
yes. And so that is why gentle parenting isn't working, because it is not no boundaries. Now you have a white piece of shit running around the world causing
I'm
harm to
laughing at
people.
the accuracy. Yeah.
Little assholes over here.
Little assholes. Our
Sorry.
little assholes.
Yeah.
With the mom going, not my angel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why he's cussing you out and popping you in your face. Black people ain't having that shit. No, ma'am. But we've had to have bound now. And I'm not going to say Black people don't have corporal punishment and blah, blah, blah. And some of that needs to be addressed. But because our lives have had to have boundaries for our safety, we've never been able to. I'll end with this story because we've been talking for a minute and I love this. But I'll end this story that goes to the soft parenting thing. I was with one of my really good friends who lives in San Diego. And that's when I was really being stressed out about this work. When I was first getting in and I was fighting it, I was like, I don't want to do this work. I don't want to do this fucking work. This is so hard. And it is so triggering. And she's like, come stay with me for the week and I'll just take care of you. And so she literally gave me her bed. And I love the zoo. So we went to the San Diego Zoo. And she has 2 white towhead little girls. And we were just walking along. And then they were like, because they go off and they're like, oh, they didn't even ask. We're going to run up and to the park. Because we were behind and they were going to go up to this little park part that's in the park part that is in the zoo. And she just, and I just started crying and I did not realize, I was like, it triggered me. And she's, what is going on? I was like, because I could never do that to a Black kid. No Black kid could ever be out of our sight. I could not go in a public space with a Black child and just let them run ahead. Because by the time I got there, some person will be saying they done did something they didn't do, and they don't have the freedom. So if you want to talk about defining softness, can our children universally have the freedom, the peace, and the beauty? That is what's missing. White kids get to be, now that also makes y'all vulnerable to the person with the ice cream truck.
Oh, yeah. Plenty of those stories.
So it's like the pendulum. It's y'all are way over
Yep.
here and we're way over there. Can we find a middle ground?
Yes. We're all looking for that happier enemies in the middle.
Exactly.
When I see this locally too, being in Minneapolis, St. Paul right now, I do think that I don't even think it has to be local. I think it is like white moms who are paying attention right now and seeing this and feeling this. And I had this overwhelming thought recently as I was sending my kid to school. We're getting sheets from home or sheets from teachers right now that's like, how to talk to your kids about us. That's where we're at right now. And this, hey, look, if there's one kid in your child's classroom who isn't safe right now, your kid isn't safe. And this is not it. Just because you think it, I think there is still this expectation that it won't be your kid.
White supremacy is a delusion of
Designed
safety for white people.
Yes,
That's right.
and think that's part of the reason, maybe, why this moment is so important. Because I think maybe folks are seeing that for the first time. There's a hint of it for the first time.
If you just go to and I pointed this out the other day, just in the Epstein files, Black girls and women weren't caught up because their white supremacist ideas overruled. They said they wanted fresh meat, virgins, but no niggers. That's why Black and brown girls were not caught up in that. They did not see young boys and girls and women and men. And they don't see you. White supremacy does not see you as human. You are a tool to be used in the system. And when it uses you up, it gets the next one. That's why white women are obsessed with being thin and having no hair. And it's to make you look like you're pubescent.
Yeah, there's so little layers to that. Yep.
That's why they care that you don't have they want you to have big boobs for some reason, with no ass. Maybe they're suckling. I don't know what that is. But it is. If you
We do a whole dissertation on that.
we can come up with these.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that is why so many white mothers, and I hate that it's now in my community. are so quick after childbirth to get back to before.
Yeah.
When your body may never get back to before.
Never. It is forever changed. Yeah.
And
That's the other part of our ongoing conversations that we have just no one tells you.
Yeah.
That's true.
yeah, and so those are the things, if we realize that we have parallel, you will never understand my experience, I will never understand your experience, but I can have compassion, I can have grace for what you're going through. That's why I could, and that's what I was telling Chris, I'm so sick of fighting. If y'all don't know, people of color are not my target audience, not my target audience. And I find myself, why the fuck am I fighting for white folks harder than they fight for themselves? I am in arguments with people who don't believe that you deserve grace because they've experienced the harm that you inflict on them. And I get it. I so get it. But I can do this work because I'm able to understand, and you need to understand, and I will end here with, I am educating the oppressor while also processing my own oppression. And that's what you need to, no person doing this work with white people is doing this without walking away with some kind of slime on them from the myth of white supremacy. And I can tell you, Kristen is very good at telling Kim, you need to step away, turn it all off, go get high.
I tried, Kim. I know there are times where I'm like, oh, not that path. Not that one. I see the rabbit hole, but
Yep. She's like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not gonna be a beautiful day for you. You go down this rabbit hole.
we have the sausage making discussions of let people go do the sausage making. We'll give you the feedback.
And that's what
Yeah.
white women's job is. I'm not here to
Right.
make the sausage. I'm here to teach you how to make this. I'm here to teach you how to recognize and how to push back and how to stay safe and how to build community and how to, and exactly, because whiteness does not understand community. It is all those things that I bring as a Black woman from the United States that I am, but it has to be reciprocity.
Can I hinge on that? I know we're trying
Yes.
to end like the
No, I'm trying to, I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, it's more for the packaging of this too. But like at the same time, that was a nugget that Amy and I wanted to talk to, and like a tenet of our friendship, and how when we knew each other for like a couple of years, soft. I gotta stop saying soft. It's like the theme word, but we knew each other like through the nonprofit to a degree, Amy. But then it was like at the tail end of things when things were getting spicy and messed up. And then Kim, you under the scene. So you and I got closer as friends and stayed on that path since. And so Kim, you've been a theme in our friendship too. And I think it's important for fellow white women to understand that if you're going to do this work and try to go on this path, you need fellow friends that you can chat with and be like, I'm having a moment about this one, but I don't see it. Can you talk? Like you need those spaces. And we actually created a bunch of them in our Slack groups together of like unlearn racism, unlearn gender. There's so many themes that you can have in white spaces to talk this stuff out. And so you have to start building that community if you want to honestly dismantle and unlearn some of this and relearn it in ways that give you a place to process it without harming people.
Yes, and that's why I started the one with the white men, and depending on what the engagement here, I might start with white women, because you need to be able to unpack all your valid feelings, your fears, and all that without harming Black and brown people in the process.
Gotta do sausage stuff. Get this out.
Yes.
And that's the nuggets I know Amy has been on my journey and just helping me and being like, let's talk about that angle. And there it is. And it's like, you at least have a spot, not to reinforce and echo at each other, but it's more so just to help each other do better.
Again, she can point out things that I don't. I only see
right.
it only, and then because I only point it out because I'm triggered by it. To point it out, I have to be harmed.
That's right. And there's the other nugget of it is like the level it takes versus having, I can think of at least three white friends that would always catch me and be like, Kristen, can you say that a little differently? And I'd be at the moment going, what did I just say? And then you hear your own conditioning coming out just naturally. And you're like, oh yeah, I could absolutely say that differently. Thank you. It's just, those are the moments where it's so priceless to have friends with you.
But that's where the psychological safety has to come in, because you have to feel safe enough to let down your guard and to be wrong. Because again, going back to the other thing, that you've been conditioned to be perfect and right. And to be wrong, you have to do, that's where the lies come in. That's where the victim in, because you can't ever be a villain. Yeah. So you make up any lie to be the hero or villain.
Here's why that happened. You said the thing.
You also hinted this too around like community and whiteness not knowing often what community looks like. And I think that this is the thing for me that I felt deeply in the pandemic with having a medically vulnerable child, of this hyper individualism, and the hyper
Mhm.
individualism that is unique to whiteness.
Because we didn't have it in our community. When during the pandemic, Black people came together as we could. And that's when I really
Oh,
saw it. I was like, oh, y'all really have to die to start getting this shit to figure out. Because
and
y'all,
they did. Yep,
Uh-huh. And I know there are probably some folks going, not all white communities, surely
of
in my
course.
neighborhood. And look, I'm speaking as a Minnesotan right now, where we have certainly seen neighbors show up for neighbors, and there's elements of that for sure. But it is a fair statement that we prioritize hyper individualism more than
it's
anything.
whiteness is rooted in competition,
Mhm.
control, and sex.
Yeah.
And that is what's the problem. So what you consider community, we don't. That's not community to us. That's just a bunch of individuals in the same space. That's not community. That's not
And we
community.
wonder why we're not bonding. That's yeah.
And that has been my hardest thing, is to get you to understand. That's what I'm fighting with the white dudes right now, is you got to do this work. You need to be in community because you need that reflection. But they're so afraid because they don't, and it's like the same thing with white women. So this is the work that I'll be doing for the rest of my life. And it's just, you know what? The people who get it and want to come along, that's great. The rest of you, I don't know what to tell you, because it's gonna get worse for you.
Yep.
Because this world is changing and we're not going back. Black people are not going back. So I don't know what the hell to tell you. And so let's redefine. So for her, oh, I got it. This is a great way to, for that individual, softness was without friction. There is no frictionless living. There is no such thing. She wanted a life of motherhood, parenthood, of whiteness that is frictionless. Nothing grows out of frictionless. Even plants have to fight their way through the soil. Nothing of value grows without friction, period.
Love it.
Thank you, ladies, so much. This has been a fucking amazing conversation. And this is, and I'm looking forward to the next two. This is amazing. Thank you so much for always being in my corner and always being there to support the crazy shit that I come up with. Because
It's just fascinating to watch. It's like we are all sitting here going, what is this post? What is the energy around it? But who cares? Write it. Let's go with it. And
because my only goal is to live in a supremacy-free, coercion-free, discrimination-free, and exploitation-free world. And we got to start somewhere.
right.
Got to start somewhere. So thank you. I love you both. This has been amazing.